Did you realize, or actually, I know you realized, let me step a little closer and talk to the camera.
No. Go ahead and ask your question.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I watched you. You were beginning to realize that that this case is going to go your way in the middle of the judge's opinion. Can you describe what that moment, those instances were for us?
Well, you know what? Like I said, it was very overwhelming. This has not been easy for me because, you know, I go to sleep, he's there. I wake up, he's there. So he's been all over me. So it was very overwhelming, but I knew that the outcome was going to be good.
I have to say, we would be remiss not to mention, really on behalf of the entire community, the office of the Jackson County Prosecutor, Jean Baker, and her team have shown both humanity and professionalism during this entire process. They have committed to justice from the beginning, gathering the facts, working diligently day and night in order to present one of the best cases I've seen presented around the country. I'm in the courtroom for the case against the men who murdered Ahmaud Arbery. We're all watching, and we're here, and to receive right before this verdict the deplorable conclusion of the jury in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. And this case was just tried differently because we had a group of people committed to constitutional principles and the protection of all citizens in Kansas City. And so we want to thank them and commend them for their work publicly as we have done privately. Are there any other questions generally to Mom and Dad?
Mr. Merrick, do you think that this verdict today has any impact on the request for a DOJ investigation of the police department?
I absolutely think that this verdict supplements or improves the chances that the DOJ will respond to this case or will investigate the Kansas City Police Department. It's important to note, and one of the major cruxes of our civil suit is that after this happened, the KCPD decided to take a stance against this law enforcement agency. They obstructed the investigation, they hid evidence, they refused to do their job to allow the prosecutors in this case a chance to gather the evidence, and that is certainly something that should be looked into at the federal level.
What would you like to, and anyone can answer this question, what would you like to see happen at the Kansas City Police Department as a result of this case?
Federal investigation.
Yeah.
As to the practices and the culture that the Kansas City Police Department work out of. You know, here they is going to try to stifle the prosecution office of doing their job, give them no help, no probable cause, and even there's times where they say it was threats placed out on the prosecutor.
That's right.
So it don't make no sense. You know?
Kansas City PD has been insulated by a accountability system that allows the police to investigate themselves. There are boards in place that need to be dismantled, and certain steps need to be taken to ensure that they're not allowed to continue a reign literally of terror in this community that goes unchecked by any outside agency. The police cannot be allowed to continue to police the police. It's the reason we ended up behind the 8 ball in this case, and there was an obstacle that this prosecutor's office had to overcome. But it's not by happenstance that it only happened once in 150 years. Okay.
I feel like the Fraternal Order of Police was a little bit blindsided by this decision, and I'm just wondering what the family is feeling about Vulcanier in this moment. You know, now that this decision has come out in your favor, what do you feel about him right now?
Yeah. Well,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
As far as what I feel about is that I think he wanted to be, he was too over aggressive, and he done got away with things too much himself. So he figured he could go along and do this, and there'd be no repercussions from it. You know, he could lie, he could cheat, he could do whatever he want to do. He's been known to be a liar on the stand. And as far as the evidence go, if you all was following the trial, at the search of Cameron in the garage was different from the search when he got to the morgue. All of a sudden, 2 bullets pop up. You know, so I mean, they plant evidence and they change the truth of things. So the Vulcanier, he hasn't in any way tried to show where he's sorrowful for what he done. You know what I mean? Nobody on his side of that courtroom said anything to my wife in reference to the loss of her son, even after they was hearing the evidence over and over again. You know, they knew he was guilty.
The Vulcanier, like so many police officers, decided to hide behind the badge. hide his criminal actions behind the idea that he was performing a police function. And we appreciate that this court went a bit further than was necessary in delivering the verdict. In his order, he laid out the Fourth Amendment constitutional protections that apply to all citizens. And when law enforcement violates the Fourth Amendment and then tries to hide behind the badge to say, well, I believed I was engaged in a police function, that is not how the Constitution works. It is not a suggestion. It is the law of the land. And when you put yourself against the law, you're no longer a law enforcement officer, you're a criminal. From the beginning, this family has believed that Eric DeVauconiere's actions were criminal, and that by virtue, he was in fact a criminal, and today's decision confirms that.
And Mr. Merritt,
As best you know, you mentioned you thought this case was different from Rittenhouse up in Wisconsin. Different in what sense? Was it the way the prosecution handled it? Can you elaborate?
Sure. This case was different because we had a prosecutor's office that was committed to justice and did not side with any particular side, that was diligent and went after it. The ways that it was similar, and similar to Ahmaud Arbery's case as well, is that you had people who violated the law: Eric DeVauconie, Kyle Rittenhouse, Gregory McMichael, Travis McMichael, William Roddy Bryan. They all violated the law and then tried to hide behind the shield of self-defense. The idea that we have a Second Amendment right to protect ourselves. You cannot violate the law and then hide behind the Second Amendment. Either you're a law-abiding citizen or you're a criminal. And in this case, the prosecutor treated these men, Eric DeVauconie, as the criminal that he is.
Mr. Merritt, I have a question just about the law and making sure I understand the verdict appropriately.
Sure.
There was some discussion from the prosecutor, some allegations about planting a weapon. It sounds from what I heard like that did not figure into the verdict, that the verdict based on involuntary manslaughter is negligent behavior that leads to a death. The idea being that he never should have been there in the first place. That was negligent. That led to Mr. Lamb's death. Am I correct in understanding that the planting of evidence part, he didn't?
I think it's important that the judge did not mention a weapon in his conclusion, a weapon on behalf of the decedent, the victim in this case. We don't know, because it wasn't clear in his order, what was his finding of fact, because that fact was in dispute, whether or not Cameron pointed a weapon at DeVauconie. But what the judge says is that once Mr. DeVauconie and his partner violated the Fourth Amendment, once they violated the Fourth Amendment, then it actually didn't matter because Mr. Lamb would have had the authority. He would have been right to have a weapon for these intruders entering his property with their weapons drawn. The evidence is clear, in my opinion, and I'll be interested to see in a written order whether he makes a finding of fact concerning the gun. But CD was not armed, and that evidence was planted. And the prosecutor's office put that out, although they didn't have to, because it was the truth. And they didn't need it for their case, but they wanted the truth to be heard. All right, thank you all so much.